What's going on, guys? Abrasus here. So today we'll be finishing the tier maker list for the core units. Last week's video was like over 40 minutes. Come on. I wasn't expecting that to take that long, but I hope that this extensive analysis will be enough for you. And again, you can try to make those tier lists for yourself. In the description, you will be able to find the link to the tier list, and then I will be able to compare our results. So that will be nice to see your opinion on those things. Today we will be starting with the ogres. The ogres don't have that particular big choice of the core units, although it's still bigger than some armies. We have the bruisers first. The strength 6 unit in this army I think is really nice, pretty durable, with the fact that you don't often have heroes that can fight very well. You don't use Great Khan that much. If you use the BSB, okay, you sometimes give him the Horde Master with the Great Open ability, but often the BSB will also be not very fighty. Having a unit that can just push a lot of stuff is really interesting. The defensive skill 3 hurts a lot because okay, so what's the problem with them is that when I often face ogres, I like to trim them down first if I have the possibility, and if 2 or 3 ogres die from this unit, which is usually like 10 men strong plus 2 heroes, then in close combat, before they manage to strike, they will already start losing attacks in the first round, which is not that great. And each wound after that will hurt like hell. They've been a bit overtaken in the usage by the tribesmen, I feel, because tribesmen are just very much cheaper. And the point is that your Gutstar, even if it doesn't have very fighty heroes inside, it will still kill pretty much anything that it touches. So maybe it's not very necessary to bring the overkill in the position of the bruisers. So because of that, I think I will leave them in the B tier for now. Also because the small units are practically unusable, even though they have leadership 8, but they are now really expensive in comparison to what you can have in other stuff. Okay, scraplings. Or maybe the bruisers in tier B is a bit too cruel. Nah, let's leave them here. Not that great of the unit. A bit similar to the peasants in the Bretonia, but a bit more fighty, and the ability to have BSB on their own in the form of the champion is really nice, as long as your opponent forgets to kill him in combat. But still, the unit doesn't bring that much to the table. It's a bit fighty, but not that much. Just an overage mediocre unit that seems to be cheap, but in the end, after you start putting points in it, they are not that cheap after all. So they will be in the B tier as well. And since I put the bruisers in the B tier, and I already talked about tribesmen, I will put them in the A tier. For the reason that, okay, freeze of tribesmen are very nice, especially because in the wildcard you can use the freeze of tribesmen and smaller units of tribesmen to hold your mage, and in the wildcard you cannot use bruisers. And also because of the fact that the tribe star seems to be slightly better than the gut star. So the small units are better, the big units are better, the unit deserves a tier better. The big unit of Saber-Tooth Tigers. Oh man, how much do I want this unit to succeed? This is 8 tigers in core that are like 250 points, 250-ish. Yeah, you basically want one of your hunters there, and then they have the lookout sir and all of that. But I think the unit is just a bit too cumbersome. and that's why players very rarely pick them. So unfortunately, they will land in the C tier. Okay, orcs and goblins. Why is there a rat here? No, 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 no. You go like here, and everything will be great. Okay, boar riders. I've played with them. If you've seen the video, I've played with the only cavalry orcs and goblins. I don't think that they are that great. The small units are nice for the chaffing and for the scoring, and the medium units are sometimes nice to deliver heroes. But in general, they are not that special, I feel. And for the orcs and goblins, you more want the stability than the few wounds that can be presented here in this form. I don't know. Probably B tier for them. Decent scoring unit, but okay, if you pick feral orcs, then they cannot flee, which is bad, and then they can be frenzy baited. And if you pick the common orcs, then they are not that great at fighting. So there is a trade-off here that's not very great. Goblins. Okay, and as you might have noticed, I will not distinguish the various races and all that, because otherwise the orcs and goblins will just take the whole tier list for their own. So I will be talking basically about the best options, or the most annoying ones. And I think the goblins deserve A tier or S tier, just because of the gits, of the mad gits. I think A tier because the mad gits have gone hugely in price, and they are really expensive now. But in the end, this is one of the units that I really hate dealing with. Something that you cannot counter in a measurable way, something that is really random, with first of all 2d6 distance, second of all with the d6 hits, the third of all this unit is really hard to charge with a bigger unit, because okay, before it was even crazier, because you could release your madgets from the back of the unit, so they land exactly in front of the unit, so you have to stomp on them no matter how do you charge them. But either way, if you just release them now to front, they will often stop in front of the unit that is charging you, and they need to cross through them and get 2d6 strength, 5 AP, 3 damage. That's just ridiculous. And even if they pass through them, it's still d6, and they don't die in this case. So just one of the most annoying units. And then you have another variant of goblins that is really strong, which is the forest goblins with spears, with crazy amount of attacks, and with poisons. Also a really nice unit. And after all, those units are decently cheap. So savage orcs. And again, this is like more of an upper A tier. I just cannot really justify putting them in the S tier, because again, they don't have anything that special going on around about them. But both small orcs and big orcs in the feral sense. I don't think that the common orcs are that great, although the crossbow orcs have been a bit popular recently, and that's also an interesting point. But the big unit of ferals, maybe they actually deserve S tier, just because they are actually one of the stronger, if not the strongest, core fighting units with the boost that they get. Yeah. The small units are not that useful though. I don't know. Can I find quickly a strong? No. Okay, and the 6 upward is a nice cherry on top, and with the new frenzy, they actually are not that bad, in the sense that they are really easy to control. Okay, and in the orcs and goblins we have the wolf riders. Okay, so in contrary to what I said in the last video, they are a core unit with fast cavalry, with vanguard, but still they are below the tier of the Dark Riders or below the tier of the Illyrian Reavers that are very similar to them, even though they even have more wounds. But I think the problem is that if you want that kind of unit in core, they have the competition of the Boar Riders that are much cheaper than, for example, the Silver Helms that are just trash. Also, the problem is that the core in Orcs and Goblins is usually very packed. So you have your big Orcs unit or your big Goblin units, but then you very often have the Goblin BSB or Goblin Mage on foot that also need a support Goblin unit. And then you will often lack scoring units because your only alternative outside of core, your only scoring alternatives outside of core are the Edbasher Boar Riders or the Iron Orcs. And if you don't want to pick the Iron Orcs and you want to pick something like Trolls, which are pretty interesting choice, then you pretty much don't have place for non-scoring units in your core, and you will pick the Orc Boar Riders over the Goblin Riders. So even though this unit is arguably even a bit better than the Dark Riders or the Illyrian Reavers, it just doesn't synergize with the army that well. Okay, Sylvan Elves, Glade Guards, or whatever they are called now. Okay, so this is not a bad unit per se. This is a unit with the weapon skill 5, with the spears or this magical superb Sylvan blades. It could have a decent support of the hero with the distracting if the hero does damage, great initiative and all that. But the problem with those is that, okay, first of all, you want bows in your core, right? Second of all, you want Heath Riders in your core often because they are a scoring unit. They are decently fast. And they can be a taxi for the elk guy. And the third of all, you have the Dryads that are the alternative, not necessarily better alternative, but they are the alternative. And then the problem, the last and most important, in my opinion, tactical problem is that with the Sylvan Elves, you like to play the guerrilla warfare wall style that was a bit crippled, but is still in place. And with this unit, you just give yourself a centralized point that puts you in a bit wrong mindset. That you start caring about this unit, you often put your BSB there or your general there, and then this unit becomes problematic in the sense that your opponent, instead of trying to fight you on every side of the table, can just focus on this unit and can just force you to try to defend one side of the board, which is not necessarily great for the Sylvan Elves player. So because of this reason, I think that the B tier is the highest that I can really put them. And the Glade Guards, I think this is clearly A tier unit for me. They don't see that much use, but I personally like them. They can be both used as a fast cavalry unit or a scoring unit, so that's good that you have this kind of choice. They are not that durable, but they don't need to be durable, and they are decently fast. Also, they synergize pretty well with the army. If you want to take the elk guys, you can either use Sisters of Thorn, which are actually a huge competition for the Glade Riders, but you can also take them and just protect them for pretty cheap. And with the Sylvan Lances, they actually don't do that bad damage, so definitely a nice unit. The Dryads, I think they suffer very similar problems to the Spear Elves, but the additional problem is that they cannot flee. So a bit worse even, I'd say. On the other hand, they can at least get the lethal strikes from the Dryad Matriarch that will join them. But I'm just not sure that they are worth the points. The thing is, okay, you can take the 8 of them with the skirmish, or even without the skirmish, just to have the place to hide the Dryad Matriarch, because the Dryad Matriarch is a pretty good general for your army, with good leadership, and with a low price. But if you take the big unit of them, then you don't want your general in them, because the general will likely very often die. The Dryad Matriarchs are not the most resilient heroes. And giving your general that has some spells, and if you put them in the beginning, it probably has some boost like Hatred or Lethal Strikes, is really painful. So I just don't like the concept of using them. Okay, in the Sylvan Elves, that's just such an expensive unit. I have to put them in the B tier, but they are very, very expensive for what they can do. And in the meta where there is so much magic missiles, so much auto hits coming, no, they are just not justifiably better. Like what Highborn Elves offer in the terms of shooting is just much better than what the Sylvan Elves offer, and this is mainly because of the price, I feel. The AP and extra strength on the close range, very nice, but still not that justified to have the guy with no save and with toughness 3 cost that many points. Samurai Ancients, the army with the vast amount of core units. We have skinks, and then skinks, and some more skinks. Oh, and there are also Saurus, but don't think about them. So skinks are definitely S tier unit now for me, because of the poison javelins being ridiculously cheap, and just a very, very good support unit. You can have like 60 or 80 of them, and that's basically it. What you need from the core, and you still have some spot in the guerrilla to put other units in, like maybe not the weapon beasts, but some rampadons, some pterodons, some chameleons even. But the chameleon, the thing is that they basically replace the chameleons in the blowpipes that came from special. So yeah, and the Saurus are like B tier unit. They are a solid unit. They are tough, but just okay. A bit of synergy with the spear guy, that's nice. But other than that, yeah, just a mediocre unit. And compared to skinks, there has to be at least two tier difference. So okay, Undying Dynasties, Cavalry. At some point I thought it might be interesting. One of our guys had a very cool idea with them, but I just don't think that they work that nice. They just deal pretty much no damage, and that's the biggest issue. They can heal a lot, but it doesn't help that much. So I guess they will land safely in the C tier for me. Because if you want a mobile unit that is scoring, you might as well take the skeletons with the entombed banner. Okay, and the skeletons, that's hard to say where they should be. I think I will just put them in the B tier. They will appear in most of the lists, but just because you need some mage bunker and low amount of archers is just not enough. The big units, maybe because the big units can now work, I should put them in the A tier. Okay, maybe let's put them in the A tier, because the big units with the Harbinger or the Pharaoh can now work a bit better as well. But in general, yeah, they are just a mediocre unit. And then the Chariots, still an A tier unit, used to be definitely S tier unit, but now I don't think that with the current price it is justified to call them an S tier unit. But A tier unit is probably okay. It's probably justifiable to call them that. Then the Scouts. Okay, this is also an A tier unit. That's just because the Undying Dynasties don't have that great of the core. And it fits really well if you take like a bigger unit of Chariots and then 1 or 2 units of Skeletons, one with the Underground Ambush, one to have for your mages, and then you can still fit I think 1 unit of Chaff. And there are not great alternatives. The Vultures are not bad, but they are not that great either. So they are just a solid Chaff that can heal. Why not? And then the Archers. That's a difficult decision. Because I've actually lost a game to like the million Archers, but it was like 9/11 or something like this. But I was playing demons, so the archers are extremely good against those. I'm not yet sure on how Undead dynasties should handle the current situation. I don't think that they are able to handle well other armies at this point. Are bigger units of archers an answer? Maybe. I will put them in the A tier because 4 up or 5 up automatic hits cannot be bad. They just cannot be bad, and they became a bit cheaper, so that's just a solid unit again. Vampires. The wolves. Okay, this is clearly S tier unit of wolves for a few reasons. First of all, they still have Vanguard. They have 18-inch March, which is amazing. They can heal. So it very much disincentivizes your opponent from even trying to kill them. And many opponents, since they don't have that great ways to annihilate them in one turn, they will just refrain from doing any damage to them and will just kill them as chaff. And then the other reason that they are in the S tier is that they are actually the only wolves that can have a champion. And the champion with the ability to heal the champion can be really annoying to your opponent. Often nowadays you will not see a champion actually used in this unit because you want to keep them cheap. But if you feel like you're having problems with the single cowboys or with the bigger units or with the bigger characters like the great demons, then the championing wolves is just... And it's always priceless to just see the look on your opponent's face when you charge like some Pegasus guy with the wolves. This is always like, what the heck is going on? Like, what? But yeah, this is definitely an S tier unit. Skeletons, good unit, parry, champion. The problem with the vampire core is that it's mostly useless in the sense of fighting. You use the vampire core for scoring, and on this list the skeletons with the Konga extra healing to the back are one of the best units. Obviously zombies are better at that, but the zombies cannot take hits as well. I think both zombies and skeletons have a place in core. In the sense that skeletons can have a much better combat resolution, but zombies are much cheaper. So I will put both zombies and skeletons in tier A. I think they are just very solid units. Before the Conga line nerfs, probably zombies were the best core unit ever because of the ability to Conga line not 8 inches but 12 inches, and that's huge. But now I think they are just an A tier unit. The ghouls, okay, let's say that they are a B tier unit. They are the only decently fighty units in core, although you could argue that the skeletons with like Lamia and halberds and all that can also fight, but let's not talk about this. But the problem with ghouls is that they look good on paper, but basically every time I fight them, they just die like crap. They are more often than not the problem to the player of ghouls than to the opposing player. The AP0 doesn't help. The heroes that you can put in them, not great. So in general, I kind of like 20-ish units of ghouls, like 23, 24, 22. To represent the program that's called the Zombie Plus, copyrighted by Shaitis, where they basically try to fill the role of zombies but do it a bit better because they can also a bit fight. And they are not that much more expensive, although yeah, this is like a price of double a unit of zombies. But they are not that bad in this sense. But anyway, I just don't like this unit. It's bad. Don't play it. And when we are talking about bad units, Batswarm. I think nobody is surprised by the fact that the Batswarm are the lowest tier unit. They don't bring much to the army. Again, they can crumble in very weird moments. So I think it's very difficult to use them in a proper way. So let's leave them at the C tier. Footpads, Vermin Swarm. They synergize very well with the demon, but since the demon is not bad, especially with the So at one point, the demon was great, and now the divination got a bit nerfed, which is obviously bad for the demon because it uses divination, but on the other hand, he was very prone to divination as well. So it's a mixed bag for him. Why am I talking about him? Obviously because the footpads are lacking leadership. They cannot benefit from the ranks, basically, because you never run a big footpads unit. So yeah, since you don't use the demons that much, I feel the footpads are not that interesting. In some sense, they were just overtaken by like the giant rats, and in their role of shooting, they were over in their role of supporting the shooting and with holding the engineers. They were taken by the sensors that have light troops and can do it just better. So I think it's a B tier unit, and I don't think it deserves to be any higher. Storm Vermins, Vermin God, or whatever. Lightning Rod being not that popular changed a bit their dynamic. There was a point where bigger units of Storm Vermin were really nice, like 31, 32 with the banner of the Endless Swarm or something. But now I think they are not that great anymore. I will put them again somewhere in the B tier. Giant Rats. Okay, very good unit. Chaff like 714. The rats don't have any chaff units basically. This is their fastest chaff unit. 140 points for 20 wounds, and similar tricks as the Orc Slaves and the Infernal Dwarves to not allow your opponent to free himself at the point where he wants. Makes them a really good unit. The Plague Sensor Burst, again, A tier unit, toughness 4, the combination with the Pendulum, that is very good, the amount of attacks, even in non-pendulum units, you can use them as a unit that will hold your mage and your general, maybe your general mage and your BSB, because they are immune to panics, so they will not flee off the board. Frenzy is not that big of a problem because you can block yourself with the million units that you have. So in general, a pretty nice unit. Ratted Arms, again an A tier unit, helps with the Dumbbell, and if it doesn't help with the Dumbbell, it can create a powerhouse units with the combat resolution, with like BSB, Aquila, and with the 1-up rerollable load on the Spine Splitter, I think, on the rat, that allows him to get to the 1-up rerollable, and that allows him to be 18-inch general. In the end, not the greatest unit in the sense of combat capabilities, but they help the weapon teams similarly as the Storm Vermin, but since they are just better in many other ways than the Storm Vermin are in the B tier, and they are in the A tier. Slaves. Okay, that's a B tier unit. I personally like them very much, but with the scoring units, if you take some Ratogos outside of core, then maybe slaves can be more justified. But if you don't want to take the Ratogos and you want to take non-scoring units, then the slaves are just a waste of space. Especially because the alternative to slaves are the giant rats, and with the lack of speed of the slaves, it's hard to justify bringing them now. The combinations that made them previously, like 2017, very nice, were that for example the Globadiers were very popular, and if someone gets stuck in the slaves, then the global use could just annihilate him. Since now pretty much all your weapons are long-ranged, and you often use artillery or doom wheels as the main source of your damage, and neither of those can shoot into the slaves combat. Hence, it's not really great to take them, because if someone gets stuck in them, then maybe you will shoot some weapon teams, but that's basically it. So if you use more G-Zales, then also they might be interesting. The greatest friends of the slaves are definitely G-Zales or Grenadiers, neither of which are very popular, although G-Zales a bit better, I think. Maybe even a lot better. Okay. Warriors. Poor warriors unit. The marks and all, yeah, they can have a lot of options, but in the end I think they are a very expensive unit, and with the current popularity of things like Battle Shrine, the warriors are a bit more durable than, for example, barbarians, but the number of wounds slightly limits the number of ranks that you can produce, and it's just a waste to have a warrior unit and have so many slots filled by the Battle Shrine and possibly by the Lord on the dice. So I feel like they are for me a B tier unit. You can hate me all you want, but I just don't feel like they are such a great unit. Warhounds. We put the dogs in the S tier, we put the dogs in the A tier, so now it's time to put the dogs in the B or C. Okay. I would say C tier, honestly. First of all, you have decent alternatives in the forms, even in core, in the forms of the Fallen or in the forms of the Barbarian Horseman. Then you have the Flyers that with Skinning Lashes are also interesting. But the biggest problem of the Warhounds is, this 22-inch march, great, but it's only 4 more inches than for example, Dire Wolves. But you don't have Vanguard, and you are very susceptible to panic. Warriors of the Dark Gods don't have BSB anymore. Warhounds have no way of being immune to panic. One stupid terror check, one stupid panic check, and you lose your chaff unit. That's just a bit too much for many of us, I feel, and that's why the alternatives have picked up in popularity compared to them. There are many lists where there are just no dogs, and justifiably so. Barbarian Horsemen. Okay, so now I would say that they are a B tier unit. But if heroes and horses become more popular or stronger or a bit cheaper, then they will definitely jump to the A tier. Probably not S tier, but A tier definitely. It's nice that they can have great weapons and have decent combat capabilities, while being reasonably cheap, like 208 points or something like this. But their main role in my eyes is to support the heroes to be delivered to the close combat, and since you don't use heroes that want to ride in them, then they are a decent unit in the sense that they are fast scoring unit, but with the ability to take the Helmo, with the ability to take fast scoring units out of special, you don't really need them. And the Warriors of Dark Gods are not the army that is very much struggling with the scoring anyway. So, additionally, the common occurrence of the 1 or 2 battle shrines makes you take the barbarian units or warrior units in core, and the horsemen are really not helping in this sense. The regular barbarians are, in my opinion, A tier unit. They are in huge competition in warriors, and I think because of their price and their numbers, they are winning this competition. And they work very nicely with the battle shrines. As fighting alone, they are not that great, but what counts is the numbers. What hurts them a bit more than you would like to admit is the cosmology and the pyromancy, both tools that utilize the burning a lot. Usually those lores are very much useless against the warriors, but if you use barbarians, then they will be a pain in the ass. So you have to be careful about that. But in either way, either the naked or a shield variant or a great weapon variant or a spear and shield variant, all of those are just pretty nice units. And then we are left with a fallen. Okay, so many people really like them. I don't really have that much appreciation for them. I think they are a solid B tier unit. They can be decent to deliver your mage somewhere, but then you slow them down with your mage, and usually you don't pick the bigger unit. What they have going on for them is that they don't panic off the board, so they can be a pretty stable chaff, and then they can also kill some chaff, but in the end, not that great unit in my opinion. Okay, so I think we are done. Those are the results. Looks kind of like normal distribution. I don't know. Maybe one more tier would be nice, but I think the units in the tiers are on a pretty similar power level, so maybe not. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Cheers.